Hello guys, today I want to talk about gadgets, and specifically gadgets that I think are way too expensive for what they actually are. Now, we all love something new and shiny and with a bit of cool tech and such in it, but I think there definitely comes a point where you need to ask yourself, is this product actually worth it? Now, for some things, they are always going to be expensive. So, cars, for example, generally are always going to cost a lot of money because there's a lot of materials involved, and they're big things. But that doesn't mean that everything that is shiny and made with aluminium has to be stupidly expensive just because some company has decided it's all gadgety. Now, I found a list of 50 gadgets and I had a look through, and I saw some on there that I thought were just incredibly expensive for what they actually are, and I'm going to go through them. So, first one is a pair of shoes. They are £130, they're trainers. Now, some people might not think that's a lot of money for a pair of trainers. I do. But they are smart shoes, as it were, so they can record your run and even suggest how much you should kind of push yourself on your runs. But for £130, I feel it's a bit of a rip-off. Because as anyone who's ever owned a pair of shoes will know, shoes wear out. They get holes. They just kind of fall apart. Now, if all this monitoring tech in them can be kind of taken out and slotted into a new pair, that's fantastic. It doesn't say if it can be done or not. I get the feeling probably not. Now, like I said, they're going to wear out eventually, and that is only sped up by rain, snow, basically any adverse conditions that aren't perfectly ideal. And I just think it's insane to say, okay, give us 130 quid for a pair of shoes that are going to wear out and that have a lot of tech in them as well. Like, you can throw most shoes away, just chuck them in the bin. These, you wouldn't be able to because they've got electronics in them. And that means that technically you've got to dispose of them in the correct way. You can't just chuck them in the bin. I mean, like I said, it may be that you can take it all out quite easily, but I get the feeling that that isn't going to be the case. My next one is a cycle helmet. Now, cycle helmets are fantastic. You should wear them if you're riding a bike. For safety, this particular one has a load of lights in, which seems cool. So you can use it as indicators or even kind of braking lights and things like that. And that's fantastic. 160 quid. Now, I'm sure most people that have ever come off a bike and hit their head while wearing a helmet will know once it has an impact, you should replace it. I know that a lot of people who ride motorbikes have the same kind of problem in that helmets are really expensive and there are some with incredible tech in them, but a lot of people can't justify spending hundreds upon hundreds of pounds on a helmet that should be replaced every few years as it is. And I'm pretty sure the same would go for a bike helmet. Materials wither and become brittle over time. It's just the way things work. And not only that, it's another thing that you have to have connected to your phone and all of that. And it just seems like an awful lot for a helmet. I mean, it's £160. And I'm not saying that safety should be done on the cheap, it really shouldn't. But I think there are far cheaper ways to achieve the purposes that this helmet is wanting to do. The main one is put lights on your bike and wear high-vis jackets and clothing. That, being a driver, I think that is the best way that cyclists could go. Next one. Now, I've seen this on a few different things. It's a little robot called the Cosmo by Anki. And apparently it learns and it gets better over time. It's got quite a lot of intelligent programming in it, and you can code with it and things like that, which is cool. But it's not much bigger than a fist. And I'm not saying that they haven't put a lot of time and effort into it, and that time and effort shouldn't be rewarded, because it should. I think that's just fair. But it's £170. And knowing what kids are like, you will spend £170 and within 2 weeks they're bored. They don't want to play with it. The novelty is worn off. And all of a sudden you're then sat there going, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. So that's another thing that I feel is really overpriced for what it is. Next one is a robot hoover or robot vacuum. Now, don't know about you guys, but hoovering doesn't take long. Yes, the more space you've got, the longer it takes. But generally, it probably doesn't take most people more than half an hour, 45 minutes on average. Robot vacuums aren't known to be quick. Generally, they're not known to be thorough, or as thorough as people would be. And the BotVac D7 is nearly £800. It's £799 at its suggested retail price. Now, for £800, you could take that money and hire a human cleaner. They would do just as good a job, if not better, and you can ask them to do more than just hoover, and you'd probably save yourself some money as well. I mean, if you've got 2 floors, you would have to get 2 of these. So £1,600 on hoovers, when you can get a cleaner for maybe £10-15 an hour. Do that once a week, twice a week. You will save yourself a fortune. You really would. So, yeah, I just think it seems like a stupid amount of money for what the actual product is. And I don't see how anyone could justify spending that much money on a robot hoover. The next item I found. Now, I like a cup of coffee. I'm sure most people do, to be fair. But I can't say I like coffee to the point where I'm going to spend a huge amount of money on it. But I know some people would. And I saw this. It is a coffee station from a company called Gaggia, I believe that's how you say it. So, for nearly £700, you get a bean grinder and a kind of proper little, almost home barista machine, coffee machine, to make your coffee. And luckily, you can get a kilo of beans for free, which is nice to know. Especially when you're spending £700 on something that makes coffee. Now, yes, I know coffee for some people, without it, I think they would physically cease to function. But I don't see how, once again, somebody could justify spending £700 on a coffee setup. Because you've then also got the additional cost of beans, water, electricity. And say you drink, 3 cups of coffee a day, and you price them at, I know, an average of about £1 each. You would kind of get your money's worth maybe in a year and a half. But they would feel like you almost had to drink a lot of coffee to justify the cost of it, which to me seems a bit insane. The next one, now I love really good quality audio. I have a fantastic pair of headphones, fantastic pair of speakers. I don't like in-ear headphones. I think they are horrible to wear. They feel horrid. And generally just don't fit. They fall out your ear, or it feels a bit just awful, kind of having to almost force them into your ear canal so they stay. And the pair I found are €349. I'm not completely sure on the conversion for that, but these headphones, or earphones, I feel like they would have to be incredible to warrant that price tag. And I think anyone who has ever actually worn earphones, even really high quality ones, is that they will never really replicate sound fantastically. And yeah, I suppose the average user would say, oh no, they sound great. But if you listen to a really good quality pair of over-ear headphones, you can hear the difference straight away. You can almost feel it. My headphones, for example, are semi-open headphones, and they're audiophile and studio grade headphones, and they sound fantastic. You can play anything through them. You can wear them for hours upon hours, and they're lovely and comfortable. And I just feel like these earphones wouldn't really kind of warrant the price tag on them. Not only that, they reckon that you can get about 5 hours battery off of them. And yes, the holder for them acts as a charging kind of case as well. But still, it just seems like the cost is really high for what they actually are. Especially when you can get a really cheap pair of kind of earphones that just kind of hook over your ears or stay in place so that you can go running or swimming and things like that. But yeah, it just seems really, really expensive for a pair of earphones, really. The next item on my list is a hairdryer. Now, I don't have any hair to dry, really, but I used to, and I did have a hairdryer, but I would never have ever thought of spending nearly £300 on a hairdryer, no matter how fancy it looked or the claims, because I know that, especially if you have long hair, it's gonna take a while to dry anyway. It would generally be quicker just to be really thorough with towel drying it. hairdryer is from Dyson, and it looks fancy, it looks really cool, and yes, Dyson have a history of making some fantastic features and some fantastic motors for things, but I just don't think that a hairdryer is worth £300. You could go down Argos or anywhere else, pick up a hairdryer for 20 quid, and it's not going to be much different. It might take you a little longer to dry your hair, it might not be as hot, but I don't think you'll really feel or see much of a difference, to be fair, between spending 20 quid and £300. That's my list of tech that I feel is way too expensive for what it is. Now, some would disagree, some may agree. That's the way the world works. But I feel that if you do have hundreds and hundreds of pounds to spend on tech, you shouldn't just go for the shiniest thing or something that claims to be the most intelligent or the most gadgety item. You should still be sensible with what you buy, and unfortunately I feel like a lot of people aren't sensible with what they buy. They look at things and just kind of go, oh yeah, I'll buy that, and it can backfire. It can backfire really heavily if you don't take the time to research what you're going to buy, research the features and the functionality, and also the cost per use as well. It's something that you've kind of got to think about, and the value. I was told many years ago that if you take every time you wear an item of clothing as £1, can you or will you wear it enough times so that it essentially pays for itself? If so, then you then get it. If not, it's not worth it. So if you buy a t-shirt for 40 quid, if you wear it 40 times, brilliant, it's paid for itself essentially. If you wear it twice and then throw it away or leave it in a cupboard, then you haven't really gotten your money's worth out of it. But yeah, that's my views and opinions on it. Like I said, some will agree, some will disagree. That's the way the world works and what makes the world so interesting. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and if you have any thoughts, comments, queries, let me know. So cheers, guys.